would say now would be the time to exit, and you can watch the recording after if you don't want your name associated. I don't think you show up in chat though, so I think we're okay. So welcome today. We're super excited to have you here. Little bit of housekeeping as we get going. Indeed, one is we are recording. So thank you for joining and consenting. The other is we like to keep this a really happy place to be. We love to share our expertise, and we appreciate when there are no pitches, which means we're not here to promote our own product, which might be our brand or our company. But please do feel free to add your expertise, your knowledge, your learnings in the chat, and we will have Q&A throughout, so we would love to hear from you. Another point is you might see people in the chat or learn where they work. We would ask that there is no contact outside of the chat unless you've spoken with this person, they've consented also that you can contact them. And let's see, what's the last point here? If we have a user group, what was that? Let's go back one more. Share their use case at the user group. Indeed, please keep that confidential. What happens at the user group is for the user group. All right, we'll move to the next slide. We've already talked about recording, so I guess we can move past that also. And today, here we are at our topic, the hottest AEM innovations for the Adobe Summit. I don't know if everyone had the chance to join the summit. Depending on where you live, it might be hard to get to. It was amazing. I was very happy and pleased to be there with some other AEM champions. So that was a lot of fun, and we're really excited to bring you what we think are some of the hottest happenings from the summit this year. So that's what we'll focus on today. My name's Kelly. I'm the Director of Digital Strategy and Services for Sunstar. We're an oral care brand, and we're based in Switzerland, a little town called Itois. Rami, I'll hand over to you.
Listen, my name is Rami El Gamal. I am a director and a senior solution architect at Rene Consulting. I literally read what's under my name. So I've done Adobe products for 17, 18 years now. It has been a bit of a journey, and I'm glad to be here today with you guys to share what's new. Daniel.
Thank you, Rami. So my name is Daniel Strmecki. I'm calling in from Croatia, and I'm solution architect at Meticulous Digital, basically specializing in AEM. Been working with AEM for the last 10 years, and yeah, happy to share some insights from Summit with all of you.
Great.
Back to you, Kelly.
Well, let's get Greg. Give a shout out to you too.
I didn't want to steal a show because you guys are the European office hours chapter. But yeah, I'm also an Adobe Experience Manager champion. You can see me there in the middle. My name is Greg Dimeris. I'm the product owner for Web here at Hero Price, and I'm based in Baltimore, US. And happy to join the office hours for this session and hear what kind of impressed us and what we're using right now and what's the outlook in the next couple of months and in the near future for Adobe Experience Manager.
Yeah, that's great. And Greg, thanks for bringing that up. This is a group that's run by AEM champions. So it's from practitioners for practitioners, and we have multiple chapters within regions. I'm just dropping a link in here to today's session, but from this link you can navigate to other sessions. So please feel free to join other sessions, and yeah, even if you're here focused on AEM, maybe you also have Marketo, maybe you're an analytics user. So we have user groups for a lot of different solutions, and I'm sure that the chapter leads and the teams would love to see you at those also. Yeah, so we had the privilege and the pleasure of meeting up at the Adobe Summit. So we're a virtual team also volunteering. So it's always great to see our peeps. And I don't know, maybe you guys can give a thumbs up so we know who was at the summit. If anyone joining us was at the summit this year, we'd love to know who was there. And if you're interested in joining and also sharing your learnings and practices, feel free to reach out to one of us because we can help navigate that way for you. So I think we're ready to to kick off. With that, our agenda today, it's power-packed, it's loaded, it's really fun. We have 5 key takeaways that we'd like to share with you today. And we're going to kick off with AI agents with Daniel and take it from here.
We are
I'll
actually
actually
going
take
to
this
kick
one.
off with Rami.
Yes, yes. So, be ready to hear my monotone voice for the next 20 minutes or so. No, I lie. As we go through these slides, a lot of it is honestly going to be opinionated. It's things that I've seen, things that I've heard that I would like to share with you. I'll give you some reasoning. I'll tell you what I think, and Daniel will be doing the same exact thing as well. But let's start with AI agents. A lot of the times I get asked, can we use them? And my reply is, do you know what they are? And it's crickets. So AI agents, to simplify things, it's a system, right? So it is by itself is a piece of program if you're into the matrix. But the difference is it looks at its environment, and we define that environment, right? So that the environment could be the streets and the lights for a car. It could be a piece of content that you provided, etc. But then it collects that information, and then it has the capacity of analyzing, but it goes a step further. It can react. Now, I want you to underline that word react, because we're going to mention it multiple times, because that's what makes it different from anything else. For the geeks out there, for the longest time, we did development based on what if, Disney reference, but it was always an if statement, right? It was one thing that happens, and then you see something else, and then something else happens based on what if something happens. AI agents are different because they analyze, they have perception, and they can also do something. Would I depend on them to drive my car? Probably not 100%, but they can assist 60, 70, 80%. With that in mind, we go into the slide, and simply actually, let's stay on the previous slide. Sorry, I haven't finished yet. But why is it important? What is Adobe doing? I think we're at a point where we have very high expectations now of automation. So us as customers, even myself as a developer, I have high expectations that I can go to ChatGPT and it solves all my problems. That's a lie. But there has to be relevance in the solution. There has to be immediate solution customization. Remember back in the day where everything was based on personalization? We've taken that a step further. And that's why Adobe started investing into this. And this is absolutely an opinion. It's a way, or it's a leap forward, that it's not just about assisting humans with an action reaction, but it could also take that action. Now we can go to the next slide. So we typically reference it as what we call agent orchestrator or orchestration. And that's really Adobe's answer to this. It is essentially a selection of call them AI agents, but collectively they'll give you this adaptation and this dynamic content in order to understand and analyze customer behavior. So if you look at the slide, and then this is again from the summit, we're familiar with Experience Manager, Gen Studio, Workfront. I won't go through all of them. But underneath, there is orchestration now. There are these agents that can analyze this data and also behave. Some of them essentially will do it for you. Some of them will give you the option to do it for you. And some of them will just tell you what's going on and let you do your thing. And then we'll move to the next slide, please. So if you look at how Adobe's doing it, they're essentially saying, instead of creating this mega agent, we're going to start cutting it into pieces, right? So it's essentially, we have these mini agents that do different things, but they work together to create this umbrella, to create this personalized experiences at scale. And these things, even though each one does a separate task, and we will give you a couple examples in the next slides, they collectively work together, right? So if you look at site optimization, and at the same time asset optimization, and at the same time content optimization, they're really all part of the same domain, which is your site, but they work together to give you a solution. And we'll move on to the next slide. So as I promised, we have a couple of different examples. So site optimization is actually one of the ones that I got to play with. It's a pretty cool idea to analyzing the site. We're used to LightScore. And what did LightScore do? It looked at very systematic metrics. The speed of loading, the biggest piece of content on the page, how long did it take, etc. Where site optimization takes it a step further. Now we're looking at the experience itself of the page. It's not just about the performance, but how do people perceive it? So it'll find opportunities to optimize, but here's the kicker, and that's why I said underline action. It could actually act upon it as well. So if it sees something, a piece of content that we can alternate to give you better engagement, or something that we can remove to give you better performance, it has the ability to do so. Another example on the next slide. Have you ever heard of chatbot? Yes. Well, Adobe has something very similar now. The idea here is you have these AI-driven conversations. On a side note, I've actually done one of these where I had two chat GPTs talk to each other. It's kind of entertaining. So if you have half an hour to burn, just do it for fun. Just put two phones side by side and let them go. But the idea here now, you have this ecosystem of AI, right? And keep in mind, part of it is the customer data. Part of it is this action of the customer typing something, a question, a need of some sort. But on top of that, you have AEP, right? Because AEP is a data collection. Back in the day, the idea was collect data. And then we went into data analysis, and it was about the speed of data analysis. I remember the days where it was like, oh, we have this platform, and as soon as somebody clicks on a link, you can go into your analysis, pull it into Tableau, and be able to see how many people clicked on a button. Now it's not about that anymore. It's about how can you process this data in order to react to it. And that's exactly what AEP is doing right now. And this is a very simple example, just a chatbot, right? But with the mix of understanding what the client needs, it almost feels like a human. And we'll move on to the next slide. Mr. Daniel.
Yeah, thank you, Rami. So I don't remember if we said it in the beginning, but if you have questions for any of these topics, just put them in the chat and we'll try to address all the questions in the end of the presentation. So yeah, we have our next topic now, where we are gonna, we first looked into AI agents, which was I think the hottest topic on Summit and the biggest announcement. So now we'll go a little bit more deeper into the AEM world, and we'll start with AEM Sites and give you a glimpse into a few features that are either out already or in preview or coming out soon for AEM Sites. So let's kick it off with the first topic, and that's a new home screen for AEM as a cloud service. So this is something Adobe announced is coming soon, and basically it's gonna change a lot to how it looks right now. It's been kind of a constant for a lot of years. I don't think it changed much in the last 5-6 years or so. So with this all new features coming up with AI agents, with different data insights, I think a lot of it is also coming from the Adobe RUM. We will get a new home screen and new features available on that home screen. I think that might a little bit depend on what you have licensed, but it's great that we will have AI features available right away. So for the editors, and we will get metrics like site performance, we will get this content insights that Rami talked about, same for assets, and of course optimization opportunities, etc. The thing I think I like the most is that it's going to be customizable per user. So basically every editor should be able to customize the home screen to look at the data or the charts that they want to look at, and simply hide the ones that they're not interested in, right? Especially think this is especially good when you have users that some are technical and some are editors focus more on the content, while maybe a site admin or an architect might be more focused on performance metrics, etc. So this is already open for the early adopter program applications. So if you are interested, you can already reach out to Adobe. All right. Then the next thing announced was an AI assistant. So another chatbot, yes, but this time not for end users, but for AEM editors, actually. Well, not only for editors, also for admins and developers. And in this first release of the AEM AI assistant, it will be providing us with quick access to Adobe documentation. And of course, semantic search, since we are talking about AI here. So of course, we can use semantic search when we do our prompts, and it will help us find all the relevant information from the Adobe documentation. And I'm sure you've all been probably at one point struggling to find a certain piece of documentation that you know is there because you read it before, right? But since there is a lot of stuff on different places, it's sometimes hard to find. So I think that's going to be great, and it can also help us raise support tickets using the chatbot, so without going actually to the support and doing all the manual clicking, which is nice. One thing that I would really be looking forward, and this is something I asked on the live presentation, is if we will be able to train this chatbot on our own documentation. Because mostly every AEM project has their own, for example, component documentation or instructions for editors. This is at the moment not possible in the first release, but Adobe confirmed this is a feature that is on the roadmap. So I'm really looking forward to see that coming up in the future. All right, so next one is experience generation. And this one is kind of an update to what was presented in Summit 1 year ago, where we first saw how experience can be generated using AI, and maybe some of you did your own POCs. But this has now been updated a lot, as you can see from the screenshot. So basically, experience generation can now generate content that is also brand aware, brand compliant, sorry, intent aware, and search engine optimized. And this is really really great, so that you can have more confidence in the content that is generated, and you need to do less edits later. You can still, of course, and you need to use prompts. But one other feature that was presented is also the ability to upload briefs, since this is something that is very commonly done in like a Word file. So you can just still write your brief in a Word file, upload it here, and then it's gonna extract like the objectives and the descriptions and the personas from your Word file and help you generate the right experiences. It is, of course, based on AI agents collaborating together. And at the moment, this feature is able to generate new pages that are based on blocks and templates. So only EDS is supported for now. Maybe this will be extended to other types of solutions in the future. If you check the screenshot on the right side, you can see that you can also like tweak it. You can of course tweak it manually as an editor, like you can change the generated text and images, but you can also like ask AI to regenerate something for you. So you can have those kind of edits done again with the help of an AI chatbot. All right, and Site Optimizer, I think, was one of the biggest announcement, if not the biggest one, regarding AEM. We already had a small glimpse on it, but now we're going to go into a little bit more detail. So it's basically a tool for optimizing existing AEM sites. And what it does, it gives you a list of opportunities where you can optimize. So it's looking at performance, it's looking at content, it's looking at RAM data, how the users interact with your content. And what's really interesting is that there is an option to automatically execute optimizations, like page speed or engagement, conversion, etc. And if you are a technical person like me, then you're probably wondering, okay, how does it work? Does it support this setup and this setup? So we'll come to that in a second. But basically, it does three things, right? It tries to identify opportunities on your existing website. It tries to give you suggestions how you can fix certain problems on your website. For example, if you have a low score for one of the core web vitals. And you can use the auto optimize in certain cases, of course, with human approval. So if if you want to use auto optimize, someone needs to click on it and approve it, of course. And I'll go now into one concrete example to make it a little bit more tangible. And this one is pretty popular, I think, nowadays, because I think a lot of people are talking about, can we, especially in Europe, where we have the new accessibility kind of law binding requirements. So now we really need to have alt text for all of the images on the page, right? And this is also something Site Optimizer can help with. It can automatically find all the images that are missing alt text and suggest an alt text for it based on, of course, the image. So you can now, as an editor, accept this suggestion, or you can, of course, manually change it and it will be stored. One thing I haven't seen on the demo is that it can do it in multiple languages. I really hope that will come soon, because I think that's something that every site needs that operates globally. So we'll see how that develops in the future. And this is actually a topic I haven't seen a lot on the summit, or maybe I just missed it, but I still included it in this presentation because I think it's one of the biggest things announced recently, and that's document authoring. So this name might confuse you a little bit, since we already had document-based authoring as an option with EDS. And you could use SharePoint or Google Drive to store your Word files, Excel files, and then you could use EDS to deliver that content pretty fast, actually. So what document authoring, or DA, actually is kind of alternative to SharePoint and Google Drive. And I like to say it's like a lightweight CMS for EDS. Because it will give you, for editors, it's going to give a better experience than just Word documents. So you can actually choose which components you want to add, kind of AEM-ish style. Well, not really what you see is what you get. So, but you can pick which component to add, and then it's going to give you sample content. So it makes it much easier for editors. It's basically still document-based editing, but bringing additional built-in features in this new editor. And I think the one that I like the most is localization, multi-site manager like rollout. So we all probably know this feature from AEM, and this is something that was missing in the document-based authoring options before, and now becomes available with this option, which I think makes the whole document-based editing EDS kind of more attractive to mid-market and enterprise clients. It has a lot of other features like AEM asset integration. There is a live preview feature, so you can look at the document at the site next to each other. It has a native versioning, so everything you publish, you can come back to that version later. You can have multiple editors editing the same document at the same time. And there is an option to extend it with some SDK that comes from Adobe and API for extensibility, so you can create your own apps for this editor. If you are thinking, will this replace AEM? I definitely think no, it won't. AEM can still do a lot more things than DA can do, but I think it's a cool alternative for especially simpler sites, especially those maybe clients that are also enterprise but want to prioritize like speed and performance and bringing their sites live really fast. I think then this is a really nice solution. So yeah, with that, I'll hand over back to Rami.
Awesome. And just a couple of really quick things. I know there was a question about pricing. I believe you're right, Kelly. I think it's probably going to be separate SKUs, but I'll reach out and
Yeah.
see.
I asked that question
what
at
we can get
Summit,
out of it.
Rami, too. It's true. Yeah, it's separate. It's a different license.
Awesome. AEM Assets, an asset editor. So let me just give you a really quick blur, because I like to talk a lot. For people who are using Touch UI today on AEM as a cloud service, I'm not saying stop. I'm not saying it's going to disappear. but I'm saying start getting used to the new interface. So the more of a SaaS interface. So that's when you go into the top right corner, you click on the little circle and you go down and go switch view. Because that is essentially where Adobe is heading, which is a little bit more SaaS. And I actually got a quotation from an Adobe engineer saying new features are going to go there. So a lot of the stuff that you're going to see, and actually in the screenshots coming up, they're only based on that new interface. That touch UI, if for people who've been around for too long, if you remember the classic UI, I have a feeling that eventually that's what's going to happen. Now, it's not going to happen tomorrow or in a year, but that is the direction. So start using it. And on that, let's go to the next slide. So the first thing that they have done is metadata enrichment. This is an ongoing thing, by the way. So one of the demos that I've seen was literally they would upload, I think it was a Harry Potter image. And it wasn't just about the metadata for tagging. So right now there's smart tagging that goes in and they'll give you like the background colors or if there's a person in there, etc. No, they're taking this a step further where actually that demo that I've seen, and I don't know when this is going to be out, I heard soon, but it writes a description of the image. So now it analyzes the image or the video or the actual binary that you have in there, and it has some stuff coming out. So again, writing metadata, smart tagging, we've talked about it. They're just improving it, and also they're adding it to custom metadata. So it's not just these two fields. There are improvements in the tagging training models as well that will be coming down the pipe. And next slide, please. Duplication of assets. When I saw that, I giggled because it's a classic, but it's finally coming. So essentially, you have duplication of assets. The resolution is manual, so you would get a nice report that goes, here are your duplication. Reminds me of the iPhone or your Android phone saying you have duplicate contacts, and then you get to select what you want to do with them. So that's coming down the pipe as well. And then let's move on to the next slide. Translated audio. So I've seen this a couple times now. Not this past summit, the summit before, they had a video where the person was talking in English, but then as he was talking in English, they actually had AI. So this was a year and a half ago now, so they've been working on it for a while. They actually had the same video running again, but he was speaking in different languages. So like French, Cantonese, Arabic. And essentially what they did is they dubbed the voice as well. So you're not just translating the content, the audio, but you are switching the video using the voice of the person. So this is going somewhere pretty cool. That's all I can say. But essentially now it's coming more from the pre-beta to beta to being consumer friendly. So this will be coming down the pipe. And next slide, please. Brand validation. This is something that has been going on, and even from what Daniel was saying. So if you notice, there is, and I think we'll talk about it later on, but there is integrations with tools now like Figma. There is this push where, like I said earlier, because the customer, i.e. the developer or the marketeer or the actual person who's buying your product, they're expecting more of the system. They need consistency of brand. And I've had multiple problems with clients where you build this pretty little site, but the moment you leave it, brand goes away. So this is a really, really nice tool that enforces brand validation that's coming down the pipe as well. And it's pulling rules from Gen Studio, as well as will allow you to fix issues with Adobe Express. Again, if you have not used these tools, start digging and playing around because they'll be pretty essential in the days to come. Next slide, please. Semantic search. So today on AEM as a cloud service, you can actually go again to that new interface. And there is contextual search where you can go and check a little box and type something, and I will do its best to try to search here, damn. It's okay. However, things are changing where the semantic search is going to be a lot more descriptive. There's going to be available not just internally to AEM, but it's almost going to be API based. Again, think App Builder and Adobe I/O, etc. There is going to be synonyms. If anybody used synonyms in AEM in Lucene, you probably know the pain of that process. So now AI is going to be doing that for us. So it's definitely an upgrade there as well. We'll move on to the next slide. Content Advisor. So essentially, the idea here is you're what would be the best way to describe it? So it's a way of federated search. So that's something, and actually on another note, I've heard, I don't think it's on one of these slides, but Adobe is thinking of doing federated search where you can integrate stuff like S3s and Azure search in there as well. But back to Content Advisor. So it's a way of going through your Adobe Experience Cloud to understand what's in there. So it's not just within a set of assets. You have assets, you have content fragments, you have collections. I bet you anything, eventually this will go into sites or integrating with external APIs. Again, this is on that new interface that you'll see it. You won't see this integrated into AEM directly. Next one. Sigma. I was actually waiting for that slide because I think this is by far my favorite one. But it's going to have a Figma integration, and we've seen a glimpse in there too, where they had this. I think it was one of their beta testing, but essentially they had a Figma design and they took that Figma design and they applied it to a site. So on the fly, they were creating the CSS and look and feel. But for now, this will essentially allow you to have assets and collection selector in Figma. And again, the whole idea is to maintain that consistency of brand. I think for the past little while, we've been going 100 miles a second when it comes to content and content creation. And now we're coming back to governance of brand as well. Next slide, please. This one is my second favorite. So for the folks that use dynamic media, for the longest time, we have used dynamic media for CDN caching, performance and assets. We've used it to create variations, but now you can do much more. You can overlay templates on top. So this is text, translatable text. It's also links. Eventually, you're going to be able to personalize those static assets as you're creating these variations as well. And I'm pretty sure we have a slide about Content Hub, but you'll be able to see this stuff in Content Hub as well. Next slide as well, please. Look at that, Content Hub. Better group permission management for assets. They've started an AEM where you can manage your folders, and you probably have seen, if anybody played around with AEM as a cloud service, where it's asking you about creating these user profiles now. So essentially, they're creating a set of groups or way of governance that are predefined to make your life easier. We can today use metadata to enforce permissions in AEM. Now, this is going to be moved to Content Hub as well. Some aesthetics, creating the top banner, image, text, and style. I mentioned access to dynamic media renditions, and finally, custom filters for search. And back to Mr. Daniel.
And before,
Take a break, guys.
just
Take a
a quick
break.
question for you, Rami, and before we move on to number 5, Daniel, we had some great questions around DAM. So I wanted to throw it out there to the group to see if anyone has any additional information. So Nicole was asking, does this mean that all tools, this goes back to the DAM slide, will all tools and configurations for assets essentially be on the Touch UI? And Betsy follows up with, when will the Touch UI have the same functionality that we have today as an admin in the Touch UI or in the DAM?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the Touch UI is what you get, is I call it the gray and black, right? That's what we call Touch UI. So that's what you've had with AEM for the longest time. The new interface, I don't think they have a name for it. I call it True SaaS because it's a lot harder to customize. So it's what you see is what you get. Now everything that's under that tools section is still in that Touch UI in the old UI. They have not given me a timeline on when that's going to be moved. But so there's a little bit of I won't call it a disconnect, but will come a point where you're almost going to have your tools and your administration happening on the Touch UI interface. But the way users are using the system are going to be on that new interface, on that new SaaS interface. The reason for that is even today, there are things in that interface that you won't find in that Touch UI. So the ability to retrieve a deleted asset, for example, I find that to be super practical. Like, how many times did you delete an asset in the DAM and you're like, call an administrator? So I think a lot of it, like the watching, the adding to favorite, etc., you won't find that in the old system. But honestly, they don't have a timeline. But if history is any indication, it took them 5-6 years to move from classic UI to force everybody to touch UI. So not anytime soon. And I see a hand up as well.
Yeah, I think
A question there too. I guess, from the admin UI to the touch UI, like there's no guidance from Adobe for cutover. And when you have 200, 300, 400 users that you have to move over, and you still need to work in the old UI, and then you want to move to the SASH UI and try and support it. And quite frankly, anytime I go into that UI, I can report a bug. I get errors, I get messages that come up. Like, it is, to me, I call it half-baked. And it is a little bit irritating when Adobe or anyone pushes that you go into production with it, because it's not ready. It's not ready to go live. It just isn't.
Will actually not resist that statement. I am in agreement. And I think that's why I'm saying familiarize yourself with it. Because again, going back, I don't know if you started using AEM when it was like 5.6 and then going to 6.0, 6.1, 6.2. I personally called 6.0 Windows Vista because I thought there was a substantial amount of issues with it. And eventually, it's not until we got to 6.2 that we felt it to be a little bit more stabilized, right? However, you don't need to go from 5.6 to 6.2 right away, right? So, and that's sort of the mentality that you should take, where look at it. There are features in there. For example, if you want to delete an asset and you're hesitant, go do it from there, because you will be able to retrieve it without having an administrator get involved, right? But I wouldn't go, okay, 300 people, start doing the courses, look at the documentations, you're moving tomorrow, or things will fall apart. I do not see the touch UI, so the gray and black interface, going away anytime soon for multiple reasons. Reason number one, the adoption. I think there is a lot to be desired in that new interface, and the old interface won't go away until the full administration is in the new interface. So that's going to take a while. Two, this is not just about AEM as a cloud service, right? Because that system or that interface is not compatible with AMS or on-prem as well. So I feel like that entire evolution, it's more of an evolution. So I think no panic, stay using the current gray and black, but have people look at the, let's call it white and blue, because that's sort of the color scheme on it, and understand and how it works and use it when there's no bugs. But I do agree, it is getting there, but it's not there.
And I think I just wanted to add, I think there might be some crossover also with the Content Hub coming in, because from what I see and with talks also, and maybe also Cindy is here, maybe Cindy has some additional information on this, I don't know. But it seems like there's a bit of they're building out this space for Content Hub so that it's a little bit easier for people who don't need to be an admin. Kind of addresses maybe some of the different permission issues. And I know at our team also, there's been, and Nicole, who was asking questions about DAM as well, there have been a lot of questions around how do we navigate from the old interface to the new interface, Content Hub, where is the right place to be? So there's probably some more communication and messaging to come. I think from what I understand, it's going to come, and kind of really making it a lot more crystal clear what the path to moving to a new interface is, or leveraging Content Hub within the organization, and maybe keeping the old, let's say the gray interface of what we know just strictly for admins maybe. So I think there's more to be continued in this story, right?
Yeah, and I've seen a couple of really nice comments. It is. There's a couple of really great comments in there. Unfortunately, one of them says guest, so I don't know the name of the person, but I think it's a good way to represent it, saying, hey, you can use it as two different personas, where your administrators would use your gray interface, and your users, again, this is not meaning force your users to use it, but from an asset view element, maybe use that new interface. I know it's frustrating in the sense that you're dealing with two different platforms. And also, Nicole had a really good point saying, use the features that you need, but maybe stay on the gray and black. But if there's a feature in the white and blue, these are the official names now, just do that until eventually it catches up. Oh, And if we're good, pass it back to Daniel. I didn't miss any other
Thanks a
questions,
lot.
right, Kelly?
No, I think, and Betsy, thanks for joining in. And if anyone has more questions about that, we can circle back. I think it's a hot topic, right? All right, on to number 4.
All right. So more for final topic is more for the techies, and I actually fixed a typo on the slide while in the non-presenter mode. So I'm interested if someone caught it. So type it in the chat if you did. So let's kick off. We are again going to go to Site Optimizer actually. Because Site Optimizer is not just for editors, right? Site Optimizer has a lot of these features that are also for admins, even developers, so related to performance and security issues. So we've been all doing this, I think, with different tools. So whether it's PageSpeed, Lighthouse, or security tools like Sneak or something else. So those features are now kind of integrated in Site Optimizer. So I guess everyone can decide for themselves if they are going to use this or they're going to stick to the other specialized tools for checking performance and security issues, but is definitely one of the things that usually need addressing on every AEM project. The good thing is that for every issue, we will have auto suggestions, like you might have seen in some more kind of enterprise tools for especially for security issues. So those will be available for admins and developers as well. But let's go to another topic, which is called Experience Catalyst. And this is, I think, also a tool that we saw like a pre-beta last summit, and then we saw a more polished version this summit. Basically, it's a tool for migrating all pages to AEM. When I say AEM, I'm pretty sure it only supports EDS. So basically, when you want to move your old site into a new EDS site, it can move the content over for you to AEM, but with some additional new features available. So if you see it on the right side, there is like, it's again like a chatbot where you can ask it to do something, but then it also suggests prompts to you and tells you basically what it can do. And the things that it can do, it can try to also grab the design from the original page, or you can tell it to take the content from the original page, but use a design from another page that might be sitting somewhere else in AEM, for example, or apply new designs from Figma. Basically, you can give it a mock file, an image of the design, how you want the new design to look, and the AI agents will try to take the content of the old site and try to make it look according to the new design. And if you are a developer and worried about how that code is going to look like and who's going to maintain it afterwards, I share your concerns. So maybe we can discuss that later. One small feature that is already out on AEM as a cloud service, so hopefully some of you have already seen this. It's a small feature, but very, very handy, so we can now actually filter pipelines. And why is this important? So not every project has a lot of pipelines, right? But then Adobe started rolling out different types of pipelines, so it's not just full stack deployment pipelines anymore. We have code validation for every PR, we have config pipelines, we have dispatcher pipelines. And it's really starting to get a lot of pipelines in this screen. So it's great that we can now filter them, and you can do this in the activity screen, but also you can filter pair environment when you actually go into the pipelines and you want to trigger something for a specific environment. I think that's pretty nice. Something that is a little bit more complex is permission management, and I think this is going to make some people happy, especially like people doing administration work and assigning permissions, because we are supposed to get a new tool for permission management, and it's going to work. It's going to work per nodes in the AEM content repository. So if you remember how it used to work in CRXDE, where you could click on a specific node and then you get all the ACLs listed. it's going to be very similar to that. So CRXD is not coming back, but new tools like this one are introduced to replace it. So I think this is going to be very handy, especially for troubleshooting permission related issues. Then one other thing that I think will be very useful for everyone on AEM as a cloud service is that we will get an option to provide instructions to Adobe when they can deploy their new versions. So in AEM as a cloud service, you might have a conflict of Adobe running their pipeline and you wanting to run the pipeline at the same time, which of course can happen at the same time. And the solution for this is now going to be available in the Cloud Manager, where you can define quiet hours and ask Adobe not to deploy during this time. There is also one additional feature where we get three times a year we can ask Adobe to have an update-free period for some days, which is the thing shown on the left side. I think this is also a small feature, but a really, really handy one. So we don't try to do deployments at the same time. One other small new feature is security related, actually. So two things were announced. One is we will be able to onboard customer managed keys and schedule penetration tests now using UI in the Cloud Manager instead of opening a ticket for support. So why is this useful? It's when we do penetration testing, we need to inform Adobe. Why do we need to inform Adobe? Because they might consider it a DDoS attack and they might block us. So we can use this new screen to simply inform Adobe that we aim to do a penetration test on specific days. And probably, maybe the thing I like the most, it's not maybe so much for developers, but maybe more like people who are doing a PO work or QA work. That's a visual comparison tool that's been integrated in the production pipeline. And as you know, production pipeline in AEM as a cloud service works that you first deploy to stage, and then you verify, and then you promote to production. With this new tool, we will get a score of the visual differences between stage and production. And then we can check those visual differences, and we can check if any of the difference is not expected. Because if we did expect some CSS changes, then of course that's fine. But if something starts to look weird and we don't expect it, we can still hold off the production deployment and fix that issue before it actually reaches production and our end users. So there are of course other tools to do exactly this, but I think it's pretty handy to have this tool integrated in the Cloud Manager and in the production pipeline. So I'm looking forward to this one. Yeah, and with that we come to an end of the session, and hope to hear also from you which one of those innovations and new features are you most excited about, or if you have any other questions. Let's stop screen sharing now and let's talk.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Rami. Wow, those last ones, I didn't pick up on those at all at the summit. I must have had like my googly AIs on. But I mean, a couple of those are really like, whoa, fantastic. So thanks. Love the visual comparisons. That's great in the permissions. Well, that's helpful, right? For admins, that's really cool.
Yeah, permissions.
So that's great. We have another damn question. Damn it. Nicole asks, asset metadata, if we have time at the end, it seems that some metadata in the admin UI, anything with CQ, is old, and in Content Hub it's used as XDM, user-defined tags, for example. Is there something planned from Adobe to map these together?
Yeah, and I did ask that same question. There is no, so essentially they're changing the namespace, and there is no plan right now to migrate the JCR values from one to the other. The good news is that's now. We don't know if that's going to be permanent. The other thing is, in all honesty, it's easily done using a little script. I know it does require some development work. but it is doable. At least it's not a complicated solution. But again, due to the fact that this is midst of migration, I'm not really sure if they eventually will do something to do a map between the two, the CQ and new namespaces.
Good. So to keep on our radar and to hit you up if we need scripts.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes.
Scripts are fun.
Scripts are fun. Sounds like hashtag. Let's see. We have some other questions. Is there documentation for the visual comparison feature? And is it in GA now? Good question.
Yeah, I think that there was another one we might have skipped. So someone asked if there's a link to this new features in Cloud Manager, and no, there is no one link where you can check all the new features. But all of these features, they are like developed by Adobe, I guess, in different teams, right? And then they are rolled out separately. So just because we present them now in this format, it doesn't mean that this is all going out in one release. So these features are going to go out in different releases. So you can do one thing like watch the release notes and check when they are actually released in GA. Or if you are really interested in one of the features and you think it would be really useful for your team, you can reach out to Adobe support and ask them if you can get early access, because Adobe loves to do early access with customers. And I'm also doing it for my project for some of these features. So being one of the first ones to try it out, give feedback to Adobe before it becomes GA. So a lot of these tools are already available for early access. I don't have a list exactly which one is GA, which one is early access. Most of them are not GA yet, but most of them are accepting customers for early access program. And sorry, now coming back to the question. What was it, Kelly? Remind me, the other one.
The question was, no, that was it. There's another
documentation
question.
for the visual comparison feature.
The visual comparison, but I think your answer kind of.
I haven't checked myself, to be honest, if there is official documentation. Usually when a feature is not GA, there's no documentation yet. So yeah, everything that is early access, you can get early access. So it's like a feature flag Adobe enables on a specific environment for you, and you can just do it, for example, on your dev. So no impact on production before you actually try it out. But you don't expect a lot of documentation. You might get some documentation directly from Adobe on Discord, on Slack, but what they do is they connect you directly with the engineering team working on that feature. They give you some documentation, they give you some guidance, and then you try it out.
Super. Thanks a lot. Trying to go through and see if we missed any others. Any other questions? Good stuff.
Just like with something that Daniel mentioned, is we definitely can before it goes to use for everyone GA use, we can post ideas in the Adobe Experience League. That's something that Adobe really takes into consideration. There's in the Adobe Experience League, there's a community link, and then somewhere in there there's ideas. I know there's one for example for a dynamic dropdown in Universal Editor. And they really look at that and they prioritize it. So if you can provide information in there, there's a template, a format you can use to describe the situation, provide screenshots if you want to, what you're experiencing. So always feel free to, submit an idea in there to be looked at from Adobe. If I find the link, I'll post it here in the chat.
Maybe Francis, you had the same question but formed a little bit differently. So everything we showed for AEM as a cloud service, filtering pipelines, experience catalyst, optimizer, is it available right now? Yes and no. I think the first thing, so everything that we've shown on these slides is not necessarily part of the license for AEM as a cloud service, or part of the license that your specific customer has or you have. So this is something you will need to check because filtering pipelines, yes, this is a feature of Cloud Manager and it's already available, I think, for all customers. It's there. But for tools like Site Optimizer, this is going to be licensed separately. So that's not going to just come with a new update of Cloud Manager. That's a separate tool, requires separate licensing. For Experience Catalyst, I'm not sure. I am not on EDS, so I don't use that one, but if you're interested, you can of course reach out to Adobe, ask about the licensing, ask about early access program, and check for that specific tool you're interested in.
It'll also be a separate license.
Yeah, there you go. Permission management, I haven't seen it yet. So I assume it's gonna come soon, and I assume it's gonna be included a part of the Cloud Manager, because that's really one of the core features that was missing in the new UI. So I'm pretty sure that one is not going to be licensed separately, but actually part of Cloud Manager.
Perfect. Great. Very nice. Any last questions? We have a couple more minutes. Thoughts, impressions?
Quick question. So with your clients for folks who are working directly with Adobe, and they're not on the client side, what have you been implementing, or what do you see most interest out of like what came out of Summit? To me, was Sites Optimizer, and that's the only thing that I had, interest to do a demo. Like I've never done a demo on the floor, but I went there because it really impressed me, because it gives us a lot of ideas what to improve on. Visibility for clients is number one, as you know, like if something component is not working, usually visibility is key. And I think that Sites Optimizer helps. What do you think, what do you guys see in the community?
I have seen, I do agree, Site Optimizer is definitely something that people are looking into quite heavily, actually, because every time you go to anybody who has a site that's more than 100, 200, 300 pages, they want consistency, right? And everybody, whether you are on the client side or the vendor side or the implementer, I can guarantee you've gone through a site where when you built it, it looks so pretty, and then you give it a month and it looks like it was duct taped for a century, right? Just because the brand falls apart, which takes you to that next thing. And I think there's multiple things that we've talked about. So the Figma integration and a whole bunch of stuff that has to do with the brand. And this is very marketeer focused, right? This is not development focused. There are things that are happening in development. But in all honesty, when you're going to sell to the client, you don't go up to them and be like, hey, look, we're going to use Java 17, not Java 11. It's a bad example, but just to get the point across. Typically, you'll go, here's how we can maintain and sustain your brand. So I've heard a lot of things about being able to create a site from nothing, essentially, that maintains your brand, or from Figma, etc.
Yeah.
I think another area that we're seeing in-house.
Yes, what you want.
In-house for the brands is it helps for tool consolidation. So for brands using multi-site management, you manage a lot of sites. You might be using Site Improve. You might be using tools like BrightEdge or SEMrush or others. And this is really a consolidation in some ways of both tools. If you're looking for something for quality assurance, and also like technical SEO, but then to the point of what are my, on page, like my assets are missing SEO titles. So it really brings these tools together, very actionable for teams, various different teams who are working on different aspects of SEO or quality assurance. And then you're all talking around, huddling around the same dashboard. So this is something that we're looking at. We have about 36 websites, and very helpful. Very helpful.
Yeah.
Also to be able to show like what you're missing out on. So I think having some dollar figures there also can help optimize, and they're doing a really great job from what I've seen at being able to build in more functionality, and then also really good filtering. So you can filter on a lot of different criteria and then know what's the most important to drill down on. And so this is great, just having it built in. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
All right. Then I think that's a wrap for today. Thanks to everyone who's joined us. Thanks also to our champion team, to Daniel and Rami and Greg, for joining. We have some champions that participated today also, so thank you very much. And we really look forward to seeing you at the next open hours. Keep your eye on the page that we shared the link earlier. I can share it again here. And that's where you can sign up for next open hours for Europe. And if you're based in the US, then please join there too. And wish you all a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye.